Hello and welcome back to Observation Conversations. We're back. We have survived the off season. My name is Jonathan and I'm joined, as always, by my very good friend Reid. How are you doing?
I'm doing so very well, thank you very much.
It's wonderful to be back, I must say.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but hopefully we can kind of get back to the regular schedule of things.
Absolutely, yes. We have survived the off season. We have come through the other side, and I guess we can call this the new Observation Conversations Volume 2, I guess. 2024 edition.
We're not doing another rebrand. I'm
not. No, but perhaps not. But we are back, and we're very excited to say that we hope to be able to bring you a relatively steady stream of new episodes this summer. And with that, we thought, what better way to kick off? Well, actually, before we launch into today's activity, Reid, is there anything that you wanted to say just in terms of a general catch-up? Because there has been quite a bit going on since we were last gracing the screens of YouTube.
Quite a lot going on.
Yes.
One very big piece of news about me is that I just learned that you're an uncle now.
I am. That's my big piece of news since we've been off air, certainly. My dear brother and sister-in-law, just a few days ago, welcomed their beautiful twins into this world. And so we're all obviously very happy and excited about that, very happy for them. Everybody is healthy, and that's the important thing. And we're all just very excited to embark on this new phase of life. It's disorienting, it's overwhelming in a lot of ways, but it's also terribly exciting. And yes, as you said, it does seem to make me an uncle, which is a strange new role to be in.
Seem is an interesting word to use there.
Well, it both seems to, and in actuality does make me so. So yes, very excited about that. And yes, it's a new chapter, a new phase for us all. So yeah. So that's kind of the big news out of my end.
So what's my news then?
Well, your news. Well, are we doing each other's?
I thought it would be fine if we did that.
Well, tell you what. I'll tee you up since you teed me up for mine. I'll tee you up for yours.
Yeah.
You know, you have had. I mean, you're a very accomplished person. You're a very impressive man, Reid. You really are.
All right, try my best.
And just recently, you have added a new accolade to your collection of accolades, and that would be
a Bachelor's of Fine Arts from NYU Tisch School of the Arts.
Wonderful. You're a graduate.
Yes, I am a graduate. I am an academic when it comes to film and television. And by academic, I mean hopefully working professional soon. Because this was a very hands-on degree. This wasn't film studies. This was production and writing and editing, and I dabbled my fingers in every area that I could because I like to be as well-rounded as possible. And now the job hunt begins, and I couldn't think of a worse time in the industry to do it. So yeah.
And of course, being an NYU graduate, you didn't graduate just anywhere, any old theater or convention hall. No, you graduated in a pretty special place, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. It's arguably the second best university when it comes to film and television, second only to USC, which they didn't accept my application, but that's their loss, and I'm much happier here on the East Coast. Yeah, so go Bobcats, go Violets, I guess. They haven't really decided what their actual mascot is, but
and I should say, when I said that, I didn't just mean NYU, although obviously NYU is a very special place, but the literal location where you graduated is pretty special, wouldn't you say?
I mean, oh yes.
See, are you picking it up now?
Yeah, I was thinking. Well, I went to school in Washington Square Park. That's apart. That's kind of cool. But no, yeah, the actual ceremony took place at Radio City Music Hall, which
Absolutely.
was really cool. We had Billy Crystal speak at our graduation, which was, he was phenomenal, super funny. Um, and there was also a, graduation ceremony at Yankee Stadium that I forgot to buy tickets to, and so I did go. But also it was like kind of a miserable day, that it was raining, and
Radio City Music Hall. I mean, that's a pretty cool venue for a graduation.
Walking out onto the stage and like seeing the audience.
Incredible.
It took me back to like all of those essentially Ellington jazz performances that I did at Lincoln Center. I don't know, it's really cool. I do actually enjoy being on stage quite a bit.
Well, that'll be a useful.
But I hate public speaking. It's weird. It's a weird dichotomy, but yeah.
Certainly. Well, certainly a good base level of comfort on a stage, I think, is going to be useful where you're going. So
yes.
I think that's
obviously very comfortable in front of a camera, which is good.
Absolutely.
More comfortable behind it, and yeah. Next thing for me is to wait for my special piece of paper to come in the mail.
There you go. The special piece of paper that tells you that the past 4 to 6 years of your life have all been worth it.
Yeah, the piece of paper that gives me additional value.
Exactly.
And ability to earn money in this capitalist society.
There you go.
Because that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. So, yes, so congratulations to you are very much in order as well. It's been a busy few weeks.
Yes.
Past few weeks, especially for the two of us. Yeah, absolutely. It's been an interesting
that last,
time.
Like 2-month grind, getting all my projects done was hell. I've never pulled more all-nighters in my life, but
I'm sure
totally worth it. And I'm
you're done now. You're free.
I'm super happy. I'm super blessed for the opportunity I had, and I hope I made the most of it.
Absolutely.
And we'll see what comes next.
Absolutely. So I think it's safe to say that it has been interesting times since we last spoke to you all in February, I believe it was, right around the Super Bowl. So as you can see, we haven't been entirely idle in the time we've been away, but we're very excited to be back because, honestly, we can't stay away. We love this show. We love you guys. We love making this show for you guys.
It's a chronic addiction.
It is, absolutely. We really depend and rely on your mild enthusiasm to keep us going, to sustain our life force for another year. So we're topping up now, building up new reserves for the inevitable drought that will follow. Around and around we go.
Yeah, it's for us. I mean, to be honest, it's for us, and there's nothing wrong.
It's a labor of love. It's always been a labor of love, and that's why we do it. So with that, do you think we should launch into our topic for today? Because I'm very excited to get into what we're talking about.
I'm also excited. You got me. This was your topic idea. You brought it forward, and because I was just like, oh, we can just talk about our life updates, and you just showed me that that's not a full episode. That's only like 5 minutes. Yeah, so I think we should go into your topic idea because it's much better.
It was a great 5 minutes. I mean, this has been a fantastic 5 minutes. Yes, I was thinking around now, early June, the first week of June, is right around the 3-year anniversary of when we first launched this channel and launched this show. We launched Observation Conversations, the YouTube channel, with our first upload on June 1st, 2021. So it's been about 3 years since then. And so naturally, me especially, when I look back on anniversaries, I tend to get a bit nostalgic. I like to look back and revel.
Sentimental loser.
I am. I really am. I may pretend otherwise, but I am a big softie at heart. It's true. I love looking back and reminiscing. And so I was thinking, what could we do to kind of call back to the legacy of where this show first began? And I thought, this was since we've been off for a couple of months, let's use this opportunity to do what we did on our very first upload, not even our first Observation Conversations upload, but our first ever test episode, the very first thing we ever recorded together in a podcast capacity. And that was, in that case, looking ahead to what we're watching in 2021. And so I thought today, let's do a what we're watching in 2024 using our new favorite format. It's been so good for us in the past year, the tier list. And so, without further ado, should we show them? I think we should show them.
I think we should jump right into it.
Yeah, let's pull it up here, shall we? Okay, so
that's not wrong tab.
So that's Wikipedia, and this is the tier list. Can you You see that all right?
I can see it just fine.
Perfect. All right, well then, shall we get started? There's just ads everywhere on Tier Maker, aren't there? It's annoying.
I love how in 2024, every single site is like, hey, if you don't turn off your ad blocker, we're not going to let you see our content. And it's like, okay.
It's annoying. It's really annoying.
I can't wait for the advertising bubble to pop.
Yep. And so, without further ado, here's how we're going to do this. I figure, of course, we're not going to start at number 1 and go down. We're going to start at number 10 and work our way up to the very pinnacle, the very top. And so, just like last time, when we did our Super Bowl snacks and foods tier list, we've got our 2 top 10 selections, and we're going to just work our way up through the list. And so, just like last time, Reid, would you like to lead us off and do the honors with? So, and also, I should add, we're doing a list for our top 10 anticipated movies yet to come out this year, and some that have already come out but we haven't seen.
Yes.
And we'll also be doing a separate list for our most anticipated TV shows of this year, both yet to come out and a couple that have come out already, but we just want to talk about it anyway. So, without further ado, Reid, would you like to share with us your 10th most anticipated film of 2024?
Okay, 10th most anticipated.
Actually, sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we should just acknowledge the elephant in the room here, really quick. The eagle-eyed viewer might notice that we don't have Dune 2 as an option on our list here, and that's because this is June and Dune 2 came out in March, and we both obviously already seen it.
Yeah.
So should we just talk about Dune 2, because we all know that if we were making this list back in January, Dune 2 would be very close to the top of it, if not at the top of it. So, Dune 2, I loved it. I assume you loved it as well.
I did love it. This was when we were talking about like how we want to format this episode. We were like, oh, we should do like an honorable mention for movies that we've already seen that were just our favorite of the year. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, but it's just gonna be Dune 2, right? And I was like,
pretty much.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Dune 2 was fantastic. If we were making this list at the start of the year, obviously it would be on the list, very possibly at number 1. Definitely would have been in the top 3. Dune 2 was great. Honestly, we could do a whole episode just talking about it. But suffice it to say, I really enjoyed the first Dune that came out in 2021. I enjoyed it so much that actually got me to read the book. I read Frank Herbert's Dune just so I could know and get a sense of what was going to happen in Dune Part 2. And so I went in kind of having an understanding of what was going to happen. And even knowing what was going to happen, I still really enjoyed it. And I imagine that I probably would have been bowled over if I didn't know what was going to happen going in. Very impressive stuff. Denis Villeneuve, boy, I mean, he's got to be one of our top masters in sci-fi right now. I mean, what he's done with those movies is fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, all, knocking it out of the park. Yeah, just praise all around, really. So, yeah.
Dave Bautista, surprisingly really good actor.
Yeah, he was really terrific. I really enjoyed that. So just to put it out there, Dune 2 would have been on this list. We love Dune 2. And at the end of the year, when we make our kind of end-of-year rankings, it's going to be very high up, I think. It's going to be very high up.
Yeah.
So just so you know why Dune 2 isn't on this list, because we've already seen it, and, yeah, disqualified for that reason. It's disqualified for coming out too soon and being too good. So there you go. And so, yes, please, you're number 10.
Oh, am I allowed to go now?
Yes, you are now.
Are you going to interrupt me again, or can I?
Oh no. Well, we'll see. Right. I hope not.
All right. We'll see. All right. Okay. For number 10, this is a movie that's already come out, but I haven't seen yet, and that is Late Night with the Devil.
Night with the Devil.
And this is a movie that I have only seen a handful of trailers for. And my initial thought was like, oh, it's another one of those kind of like cheesy horror movies. It's not going to be that good. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it really has, in my mind, it has like the same vibe as the horror movie that we watched together and then did a review on, which was the Conjuring sequel.
Conjuring 3.
Yeah.
Devil Baby Blood. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember like having so much fun just talking about that movie, and like thinking about like the different implications of have having these supernatural things exist in the world and what that would like mean for different people. And this movie seems like it kind of dives into that a little bit because it's like, yeah, of course, if exorcism existed, they would find a way to televise it.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And that's just a fun idea. And the main actor who's the host, I forget his name, but he's
David Dastmalchian.
Yeah, he's really good. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Polka Dot Man from the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I really like him, and yeah, this just looked interesting. So I think it's something I definitely want to watch. Definitely more of a cheesy movie for me. I won't be critiquing it as a work of art, but rather a work of entertainment. But
absolutely, yeah, I'm very glad you had Late Night with the Devil on your list, because it would have been an honorable mention on mine. I was very curious by the trailer, definitely interested to see it. Looks very interesting, looks very stylized, very cool. So yeah, I hope to see that at some point myself. Definitely very intriguing. And so yeah, my number 10 is going to be A Quiet Place Day One. I must confess, I haven't seen either the original Quiet Place or A Quiet Place Part 2. It just never really interested me that much. I mean, also, I'm not really the biggest horror guy, but I know that A Quiet Place, it's not just a straight horror. It's also kind of got a lot of those thriller elements as well. And I did come close to watching A Quiet Place Part 2, because in the trailers, they advertised very heavily a section of the movie, which I think is the very beginning of the movie, which shows you a little bit of the day one aspects of the story, the day when the aliens first arrived to Earth. And that looks really interesting to me. I love alien invasion movies, stuff like this, alien invasion, alien infiltration, all that kind of subterfuge and stuff. And so this has always been the aspect of the A Quiet Place universe, if you want to call it that interests me the most. What was it like on the day that these creatures arrived on this planet and started wreaking havoc? I mean, it would have been utter chaos. And that's very interesting. Also, I believe Lupita Nyong'o is starring in this, and she's great. Always love her when she's in stuff. So, looks interesting. Will I see it in theaters? Maybe, I don't know. But I definitely, when it comes out on home release, I'm going to be watching this. I'm very curious to see how they tackle this aspect of the story, the day one aspect of the story. I think it's going to be very interesting. Also, I believe in the first two movies, they're largely set in small towns and rural areas.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is set in New York, if I'm not mistaken. If I recall from the trailer, it's set in New York City. So very different environment as well, very different setting from the first two. So very curious about it, looking forward to it, looks interesting. So
yeah, this is a movie that I was considering giving an honorable mention just because I wanted to talk about it. Because I feel it's likely to be the weakest of the three Quiet Place movies.
Interesting.
And the reason I feel that way is because it's kind of taking the entire gimmick that was so cool about the first one and like throwing it out the window a little bit. Because the whole premise of the first movie was obviously you have to be as quiet as possible, which just naturally like creates suspense. And so they're taking that and then setting the movie in like the loudest city in New York.
Right.
And like you already know what happens because they show it in the trailer, which is the city's really loud, so the monsters go crazy and then like destroy everything.
Right.
So like I don't know, the kind of innovation that was present in the first movie isn't really here anymore.
Fair.
Which is kind of a shame, but at the same time, it's like it is a cool world. I can see wanting to kind of explore the events of day one, and I'm it does look really good.
Yeah.
Like visual, I'm sure it'll do well. If the reviews are good, I'll probably also see it. But
yeah, I will agree with you. One potentially small point of concern is that Krasinski's not directing this one. It's a new guy, Michael Sarnowski. So yeah, we'll have to see, because obviously John Krasinski was the big kind of driving creative force behind the first two. So we'll have to see how this new guy kind of steps into this franchise and puts his own spin on it. But yeah, still definitely interesting. So with that, number 9, what's your pick?
My number 9 is The Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy. Okay.
This came out pretty recently.
Start of May.
Yeah. I don't know, it just looked like a fun kind of action movie.
Sure.
I think Ryan Gosling can be very funny at times. I mean, just look at his portrayal of Ken and in the
Sure.
Barbie movie. So yeah, I mean that's kind of it. I was like, oh, this looks like it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, fair enough.
Sometimes that's all you need.
No, yeah, no doubt about that. Fair enough. I mean, definitely Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt. I don't think you can go wrong there. I think that's a great pairing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it does look interesting. The only kind of thing that's kind of put me off The Fall Guy is that I heard for a movie that's all about, stunts and kind of putting a stunt man front and center and kind of doing this whole behind the scenes of making the movies type conceit. The stunts weren't actually very good, is what I heard, which kind of put me off for a movie about a stunt man. It's more of leading into the rom-com stuff, which is nothing wrong with that. Again, you've got two very charismatic leads, makes sense. But I was kind of disappointed that a movie about a stuntman doesn't, from what I've heard, doesn't get the stunts as good as they could be. But that's just what I heard. So
yeah, and then like the other part of it too is like if you're gonna make a movie that honors stunt people, it is a little bit insulting to have it still star like an A-list actor when like a lot of stunt people are also really good actors.
That's very true. That's very
so like,
yeah, it's a very good point.
Yeah, but
and let's be honest, it's nobody actually believes that Ryan Gosling, whose face is probably insured for millions of dollars, is doing his own stunts. I mean, I don't think there is an inch of that man that is not insured to a 9-figure degree. So,
yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a very good point. It's a missed opportunity to put an actual stunt man or someone who has experience with stunts or at least doing their own stunts in that role. But yes, for me, my number 9 is going to be, there we go, Trap. M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. Really, I'm just putting it here sheerly on the strength of that trailer, that teaser trailer. Looks interesting, the whole idea of, I mean, obviously M. Night Shyamalan loves his twists and turns and third act surprises. And it's all built on this conceit of a guy taking his daughter to a concert, so it's like a Taylor Swift type pop star. But also at the same time, this whole concert is a sting operation because this guy, the dad, is also secretly a serial killer.
Yep.
And so this whole concert is a sting operation to catch this guy. So very interesting conceit, seems very original. I mean, honestly, just this guy's face, honestly, just sold the whole thing. Like when the trailer came out, this face instantly became iconic, and so I'm very excited to just see where that's going. So, Trap, I will say, admittedly, not the best title. It's honestly,
no.
I'm surprised the title didn't get a rework. But it looks good. It looks interesting. So, Trap is my number 9. All right, your number 8.
For number 8, I put If.
If. Okay.
This is a not Ryan Gosling but Ryan Reynolds movie.
Yes, another Ryan. The other Ryan.
Yes, directed by John Krasinski, who also did the original Quiet Place films. So a lot of full circles coming in this. But the main reason I wanted to watch this movie is primarily because I really loved The Adam Project, which was a Ryan Reynolds. I actually don't know if it was a Netflix original.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a film that like starred him and then like the young version of himself, essentially.
Right.
Kind of on an action adventure, and this was like adult Ryan Reynolds interacting with like an annoying kid, right. Who's with like where he's being very jaded and the kid is like has a lot of idealism, and it just looked kind of like a fun adventure. A lot of good cast members in this. I know Steve Carell is kind of the main voice actor they threw in here. It would have been cool to have like more professional voice actors rather than just A-listers, but that's just kind of the industry we're in. I just think it looks kind of fun, and I'm really curious about it. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, my number 8 is going to be Inside Out 2. There we go. It's a bit laggy, but there we are. Inside Out 2. It's been a while since I've seen a Pixar film in theaters. The last Pixar film I went to go see in the theater was Incredibles 2 in 2018, which I really enjoyed Incredibles 2. I had a good time with that.
Supposedly there's a rumor going around that they might make an Incredibles 3.
I hope so, honestly. I would love to see an Incredibles 3. Honestly, I think that of all of Pixar's kind of sub-franchises, Incredibles is probably my favorite. I really have enjoyed those films. And so, it's been a while since I've seen a Pixar film in theaters. I didn't see the original Inside Out in theaters, but I did see it after the fact. And I found it thoroughly charming, for a movie that's obviously, that I'm obviously outside of the target, age range of. I had a good time with it. I thought it was really fun and poignant, and I think it really called back to a lot of what I loved about classic Pixar. I know people, there's a million different takes and video essays out there about, how/did Pixar lose their way in the 2010s? Are they still trying to find their footing now? They've had some awkward releases that have kind of flopped in the past couple of years. But Inside Out, the first one was a big hit. And when I watched it, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it. Honestly, the fact that I was even willing to give it a shot, I think is probably a pretty good testament to it. And it was fun. And this one, they're bringing in some exciting new voice talent into it, some exciting new characters. I know that Ayo Edebiri is going to be one of the new emotions in this one, which is pretty fun. I am looking forward to it, surprisingly. It's the first Pixar film in a while where I feel like I would go see this in the theater. I don't know if I will, but if a group of friends invited me out and said we're going to go see Inside Out 2, I would absolutely join them. I really would.
Yeah.
Should be a fun time. Definitely, I think one of the more anticipated and deserved of the Pixar sequels. And so should be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. See where they go next with the story. So Inside Out 2.
Very cool. Let me consult the list again. For number 7, I had Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim.
Okay.
I know absolutely nothing about this movie. I don't know what the Rohirrim are. I'm a very casual Lord of the Rings fan, but I loved the original trilogy, and I also really enjoyed the Rings of Power series that Amazon did. I know it was not well received. I think a lot of that was just a lot of people on the right being mad that the show starred people of color, which is dumb. Like dwarves can't be black, blah blah blah. Blah. But I thought the show was really good. I love the world, and so I'm just really curious to see this next film.
Fair enough.
Should be interesting.
Yeah, and this one's getting a December release as well, so I think they're positioning this to potentially go big. We don't know a ton about how this is going to be animated yet, but if they could make this into like a Spider-Verse type thing, or like a Puss in Boots: The Last Wish type thing, because those were both December releases, then it could be really big, because The Lord of the Rings is a huge franchise. So,
yeah.
So I think that Warner Brothers has a lot of confidence in this one. My number 7 is going to be Beetlejuice. The first Beetlejuice is great. I think that the first Beetlejuice is really Tim Burton at the peak of his game. That was way back. That was late 80s was when the first Beetlejuice came back.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's incredibly impressive when you go back and look. I can pull it up here. If you look at who's coming back, Michael Keaton is back. Winona Ryder is back. Catherine O'Hara is back. The kind of the main cast from the first film. They're all back, and it's, it feels like it's the perfect time. If you're going to do a 30 years later, 35 years later sequel to Beetlejuice, this seems like the perfect time to do it. Everybody looks great. I think that Jenna Ortega, obviously, very hot right now. She's kind of one of the, she's, Wednesday, obviously, and she was in the new Scream movie, so she's kind of big in this space. Willem Dafoe, Justin Theroux. I think it's great, kind of the new cast that they're bringing in for it. And the trailer looks good. Honestly, I was really impressed by how the trailer managed to evoke the spirit of the original. It feels like if Tim Burton had made a Beetlejuice 30 years ago, it wouldn't have looked very different than this. It's just obviously with better, CGI and better effects and all that stuff that comes with being 30 years later. But it looks really promising. It looks like just another great fun horror comedy. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Also, just anytime you get a great Michael Keaton madcap performance, that's always fun.
Yeah.
So I really am looking forward to Beetlejuice. I think it should be a really good time. And I think that I really think this is going to be Tim Burton kind of back to form, which we've all been wanting. So.
And Beetlejuice is also a movie I put on my list, and I actually put it at number 6.
Oh, brilliant. Well, let's talk about that then.
And part of the reason I did that is because I guess it would have been last year sometime, maybe the year before, I saw the Beetlejuice musical.
Oh.
And I absolutely loved it. I'm like in love with that musical. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. It was just so good, and it made me kind of fall in love with the story again. So yeah, I'm just excited for more Beetlejuice in general.
Definitely. All right. Well, then with that, my number 6 is going to be. Oops, there we go. Venom: The Last Dance. Now, I realize I'm taking a big risk here, putting a Venom movie on my most anticipated of the year list. It's a big risk.
And at number 6 too. Oh my God.
It's risky. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and try to make a case, bang the table and say that the Venom movies are really good. I'm not gonna try to make that case. But what the Venom movies are, and I said this to you before we recorded, is they're fun. They're reliably fun. Tom Hardy is having a great time in this role, and I think that's the most important thing. He's really good. He loves being being Eddie Brock. He loves having this double act as Eddie Brock and Venom. He loves doing the silly Venom voice, and it shines through. He really is passionate about this character, and these movies, they are goofy. And, there are definitely times where they jump the shark, but they're fun. And I definitely felt like Venom: Let There Be Carnage was a solid improvement on the first Venom. And the trailer for this one suggests strongly to me that this has the potential to be the best one of these three, the best one yet. And there is some recency bias because the trailer for Venom: Venom: The Last Dance just came out a few days ago. But it does look good. It does look fun. Obviously, I love the Venom horse. That's just so much fun. I love that visual so much of the Venom horse. Let's see how fast we can make this thing go without killing it. I just think that that's great. And so, they're silly, they're fun. Tom Hardy's having a great time. They're serviceable action movies. I'm pretty sure Stephen Graham is going to become a symbiote in this one. He's going to get a symbiote because that was something that was kind of a hanging thread from the last movie, which that's going to be fun. And also speaking of alien invasions, as we saw in the trailer, more symbiotes are falling to Earth in this one. So it's also kind of got that alien invasion aspect to it, which I like. So Venom: The Last Dance, I feel like I've been on this road since 2018 when the first Venom came out. I've come this far. Let me see this through to the end. Whatever happens, let's see this through to its conclusion. So, Venom: The Last Dance is my number 6. I am looking forward to it. I'm braced for. I know what it will be, and I know what it won't be. But I am at peace with that. I am at peace with that. And honestly, just the whole thing. Because people are making a big thing, they made a point of releasing the Venom: The Last Dance trailer on the first day of Pride Month because, of course, the LGBT community, they love these Venom movies because there is definitely some major gay subplots happening between, or maybe it's just maybe it's just fan wish fulfillment, but people definitely are imagining a gay thing happening between Eddie and Venom. And honestly, I'm here for it. I love it. I say let's lean into it even more, and I think they are. So, screw it. They're fun, and yeah, I am looking forward to it. So there you go.
I didn't realize that the LGBTQIA
Oh, yeah.
community was a large market for
I'm
the
telling
Venom
you,
franchise.
the people love it. They really
Interesting.
do. They really
Interesting.
do. I mean, in the last movie, Let There Be Carnage, Eddie and Venom literally break up. They literally break up and they get back together. And so, yeah, it's not hard to see where they're getting it from. So, but it's fun, like I said. So.
Interesting. I don't.
You seem dubious.
I didn't see the first one, but I did see Let There Be Carnage, and didn't love it.
Fair
Did
enough.
not love it.
It's not for everybody. I'll be honest about that.
I think most of that though comes from my personal bias against Sony and their need to like make everything some kind of franchise.
Yeah, well,
like their entire movie department right now is just about the Spider-Man franchise without a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's so dumb. Like,
to be sure, Sony's world building is insane. I mean, to make no mistake about that, it's
the dream of a madman. I mean, you're like trying to make one that they try to like shove Venom into the MCU just to drag him back out in the same movie.
Yeah.
Which fucking okay. I guess now you can technically claim that it's part of the MCU, I guess. And like I'm pretty sure Morbius is part of the same universe because he references.
Morbius was a disaster. Madam Web was a disaster.
Like probably the worst of all time.
Yeah, Madam Web was really bad. Craven is probably going to be a disaster. We don't know yet, but I'm worried about that movie. Venom are the only one of this Sony Spider-Man universe that have been decent. At least decent. Everything else has been a disaster. So.
And it's like, okay, you don't have access to Peter Parker because, you made a deal with Marvel and now he's in the MCU. So you don't have a hero for your movies. Use Miles Morales. People have been asking for that for fucking ever.
I'm telling you.
Great hero. The Across the Spider-Verse movies are doing so well right now. Just do that. Build the franchise off of Miles Morales, and you can still do all of these. Use all these other characters that you have the like movie license to the IP for, and you don't have to make every single one some kind of weird fucking anti-hero backwards bullshit because that's not what the characters were meant for. Yeah, Venom is a villain. He's supposed to be a villain. Morbius is a villain. Craven is a villain. Like,
I mean, I agree. I agree with you. But again, for what they are, and yes, there's a million caveats, but for what they are, I do like it. The Venom. Like I said, the Venom films are the only ones that have been decent, at least. All the other ones have been really bad. But at least Venom, powered in large part by Tom Hardy's charisma, kind of manages to overcome how unhinged Sony's wider plans are. So
yeah, I think when you can forget what the Venom character is and just treat it as like a alien rom-com, I guess, then it's fun.
Sure.
I don't know. I kind of hate Sony, but
you're absolutely right.
It is what it is.
Right. Top 5.
Yes. Yeah. For number 5, I have Inside Out 2. You put this at number 8.
Oops, I don't think we have.
Oh no. No.
One moment, ladies and gentlemen, while I sort that out. I wish I could just copy this. That would be handy.
That would be handy.
I can just get. I can just copy that same image. One moment, folks. While I grab that. There we go. Okay.
All right. So, Inside Out 2. Initially, not a film I was excited for. Just because I felt like it's kind of a part of me feels like it's kind of an unnecessary sequel. part of me is like, do I really want to watch a movie about a teenage girl during like the most annoying years of her life? Um, but also I remember seeing the original in theaters, and like watching it with my family and especially my mom. Like she really loved the movie.
Hmm.
And like she's really into Inside Out too, and I think it would be a really fun experience to go to the theater with her and everyone
Sure.
else and just
Oh yeah,
see it. I think it would be a really good time. So
definitely,
yeah, I have it decently high up. Um,
absolutely.
one thing I will say is I'm curious to see how they set up these new characters
Hmm.
because in the first film, like in the adult minds, there's still just the same five base emotions.
Hmm.
And also, from my understanding, like all of these new emotions would technically be offshoots of the existing ones.
Hmm.
Like anxiety is just an advanced form of fear,
Sure.
or it's like fear plus sadness. Or like ennui is oh wait, what was ennui? I don't remember.
Ennui, it's kind of like feeling listless, kind of directionless, kind of, bleh, I
It was like
guess.
bored, yeah. And it's like
Yeah.
that's kind of an offshoot of disgust in a
Right.
way. So, or like disgust plus anger, maybe disgust
Mm.
plus sadness also.
Right.
Like all of these are kind of blends of the same five base emotions.
Mm.
Um,
But it's an evolution of them, which is
but
interesting.
it's an evolution, and like the I think it'll be fun to see all of them interact in different ways.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
I think it'll be a good time.
Oh, absolutely. And
And also
it's
the
interesting.
go ahead.
You go ahead, Matt. You were gonna say something?
Well, I was gonna say, and also like the first one was very heavily praised by like psychologists
Mm. Oh yeah.
and like the child psychology community for
Mm.
saying like, hey, this is actually like a phenomenal tool that we can use to help kids identify their different emotions. Um, and so I'm hoping that like the writers for Inside Out 2 like continue to work with uh psychologists and make it so it's like still accurate and can be a tool for helping children because I think that would be just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure they will too. I'm sure they have. And also, it's interesting. We've commented in the past about how lackluster this June is, because usually June is the centerpiece of the summer movie-going season. And this June, largely because of last year's strikes, the writer's strike and the actor's strike, very lackluster. A lot of big movies had to get pushed back. And so it's good to see that at least one June movie has broken through onto our top 10 list for both of us, no less. I think that this could be the rare year where Pixar gets its mojo back and maybe is back on top of the June box office. So we'll see. I mean, it's at least a possibility. So, I think that'll be very interesting to follow. But it's the best chance that I've seen in recent history in terms of can Pixar, because Pixar, I mean, they own that middle June weekend. That's
Yeah.
always when their big movie of the year comes out. And so this could be the year where Pixar gets back on top with Inside Out too. The first one was a big hit, so could happen.
Would you mind refreshing your share screen because
Ah, of course,
it's frozen for me again.
of course.
That's good. Thank you.
Oh, whoops. Oh,
Ah, oh no.
Okay, are we back? Can you see it? Can you see
Yep,
it?
that's great. Thank you.
Okay. So my number 5 I have here is going to be Gladiator 2, Ridley Scott. This guy is, I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said? Ridley Scott is really good at this. And his wheelhouse is big historical films, big historical epics like this. Not only, obviously, the first Gladiator, but just recently he did The Last Duel. He did Napoleon last year. He did The House of Gucci recently, which is a very different kind of movie than those first few, but it's fun. It's a very funny movie. I have to say, I watched House of Gucci recently. It's a very funny movie. So, but yeah, obviously the first Gladiator with Russell Crowe, instant classic. I mean, that movie is just awesome. And I mean, when you look at who's going to be in this one, let me show you this here. Gladiator 2, Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, which honestly I could stop reading at Denzel. I mean, I could stop right there.
What a powerhouse, yeah.
But also Pedro Pascal's going to be in it. They're getting Joseph Quinn in from Stranger Things. This is really exciting. This is really exciting stuff. I'm really curious to see where Ridley goes with a sequel. Just Denzel. I mean, that's all I really have to say. I can't wait to see Denzel in ancient Rome. That's gonna be awesome. I hope he gets to kill like a tiger in the Colosseum with his bare hands. I think that would be really sweet. And so, yeah, we haven't seen any trailers from it yet. We haven't seen anything from it yet, but the ingredients are right. All the ingredients are correct for this. I think this is going to be a big movie at the end of the year. So November, Gladiator 2, can't wait to see a trailer for it. Very promising stuff. Definitely looking forward to it. And who knows, maybe we'll get a Russell Crowe cameo. I think he's still alive at the end of that movie. I think so.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's been a while, but wouldn't that be cool? So
I do kind of have a fun question. Like,
yes,
when it comes to these like historical epics, I do wonder how many Hollywood writers out there are like technically qualified historians, given how much research they must do into these different kind of eras and events.
It's a good question. Yeah. And I'm just reading this here. Oh, yeah, no, never mind. He does die. Russell Crowe does die at the end of the first Gladiator.
I mean, he could still make a cameo, some kind of flashback.
Force Ghost. He could come back as a Force Ghost. Yeah. wouldn't that be?
It's a little less historical, but yeah.
Yeah, but it would be fun. It would be fun. So yeah, that's my number 5.
His cameo is just his head is on a pike.
Yeah, which that would be a good way to get around the royalties. So
yeah.
All right, your number 4.
My number 4 is Folie à Deux. Adieu. Folie à Deux. Joker 2. I do feel like the first Joker movie was so. I really enjoyed it, but it was also just a lot. It was like kind of an emotional burden to watch. Not kind of. It was an emotional burden to watch. It was very intense. This one looks a lot more fun, especially given that it's kind of a musical. And I'm excited to see kind of where they take this version of the Joker, because I think Joaquin Phoenix did a fantastic job. Yeah, I actually don't have too much to say about this one. I'm excited.
Fair enough. Okay. My number 4 is going to be The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Okay, so a little history. I've been very late to the Lord of the Rings party.
You're very new to.
I am very new to it. The Lord of the Rings for me was one of those movies where, do you know this sensation, or this phenomenon, I should say, when everybody around you is saying, "Oh, this movie is so great. This movie is so great. You have to see it." You just start convincing yourself. You hear it for long enough, you convince yourself there's no way it can be that good. It's got to be overrated.
For me, I was like 5 years late to Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
My sister kept yelling at me to like watch it. This is like your perfect show. You'd love it. And I'm resistant to when people keep telling me to do this thing. Yeah. And then I finally saw it, and I was like, God damn it, this is so good.
This is great, yeah. It's like, you hear something is great for long enough. You hear people telling you you have to watch something for long enough. You're like, I'm not going to watch it. It's going to be overrated. I'm not going to like it. But then one day, the dam finally breaks, and you give it a chance. And for me, that's what happened this past holiday season. Around Christmas, this past Christmas, I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try Lord of the Rings movies, see what all the fuss is about. And let me just say, I'm so glad that I did. I really fell in love with those movies. I mean, really 2023, for me, 2023 was the year when the dam finally broke on fantasy for me. I was never really a huge fantasy guy before, But in 2023, I finally opened my heart up to it. And all of these amazing new stories entered my life. Dune, Game of Thrones, Dungeons and Dragons, and then Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's amazing when you open your mind, the new things that, the new cool stuff that you get to discover. And I closed out the year with Lord of the Rings. And I fell in love with those movies. I enjoyed them so much. I watched the original trilogy, all extended editions. I watched Fellowship Extended, Two Towers Extended, and Return of the King Extended, which that's a 4.5-hour movie, Return of the King Extended Edition. But it's worth it, honestly, because it's all so good. And then, even then, I still wasn't done. Before New Year's, I also watched all of the Hobbit films, too. I watched The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, and Five Armies. And yeah, I just, and honestly, the Hobbit films, they weren't bad. I'll say that. I mean, listen, they don't hold a candle to the original trilogy, obviously. But, there's fun stuff to get into there, too. But yeah, the original trilogy is just, it's epic. I mean, it's the only way I can describe it. Those movies really were as good as everyone said. I fell in love with them. Since then, in this year, 2024, I've already rewatched all 3 of the Lord of the Rings films again.
And they're going to be in theaters this weekend too.
Yeah. I mean, it's so yeah.
Theatrical re-release.
So I really fell in love with them. I'm so glad I finally discovered them. And so yeah, when I saw that there was going to be a animated Lord of the Rings project coming out in December, like, oh, this is exciting. This is kind of fun. What's this going to be about? And then, here's the other thing that gets me. Then you tell me, oh my God, Brian Cox is going to be the king? Is going to be Helm Hammerhand, King of Rohan? Okay, I'm sold. Let's do this. I mean, and you want to know what else is interesting? I saw this, and I thought this is really quite interesting. An upcoming anime fantasy film. Anime. What's that? What's the deal with that? What's that going to be? I mean, we are in totally uncharted waters here. A major release, a major blockbuster Lord of the Rings release, anime in theaters. Wow.
Actually, anime and fantasy go pretty well hand in hand. And it's a great animation medium for the genre.
I absolutely agree. It's very exciting. It's just like, we're just totally forging new waters.
They mean here. Like 2D anime, not 3D. But
yeah.
I'm sure it will be.
But yeah, I mean, that really gets my attention. That's very interesting. Also, very important, it is, I believe, co-written by Philippa Boyens, who was, of course, co-writer on the original Lord of the Rings trilogy as well, and produced by her as well. So, like, once again, the ingredients seem right. I'm very interested. Brian Cox, definitely a huge plus. So very interested to see. I think this could be a surprise big hit at the end of the year. I really do. So very excited to see what they're doing with this. Definitely one that I'm looking forward to capitalize on my newfound appreciation for this world and this lore. So yeah, that's my number 4. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is Furiosa.
Okay.
I absolutely loved the Mad Max Fury Road. It was just so good. Such a phenomenal and memorable movie. I have heard that this is not Fury Road, but it also was not trying to be Fury Road. It was very much like right out the gate. This movie was like, this is not Fury Road. This is an entirely different project.
Yeah, newfound.
Which to me, that's a really good sign. That the writers know what they're doing, and I think opening weekend it hasn't done that well. But the reviews from what I've seen are pretty positive. I'm not the biggest Anya Taylor-Joy fan, but she's good. Chris Hemsworth is good, and like this time Chris Hemsworth is kind of stretching his acting legs a bit more, and it's also taking on a more like villainous role, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It looks real exciting. and I think it would be a terrific, however many hours, well spent. So
Okay,
I definitely plan on watching this very soon.
definitely. And my number 3 is also Furiosa.
Oh wow!
Look at that. Our first
I was wondering if we would have any on
double
the
match.
same tier.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, this just came out on Memorial Day weekend, a couple of weekends ago. Very surprising. It only opened like 30 million, which was definitely a big disappointment for a very high-profile release.
Yeah.
But it could have legs. I suspect, especially in a pretty slow June, an unusually slow June, it could have legs and it could, make up some of that ground. But yeah, I mean, Mad Max Fury Road. Honestly, I'm always frustrated that I don't love Fury Road as much as everybody else does. I remember when Fury Road came out in 2015, I think it was. Everybody was giving it, oh, this is awesome. This is a 10 out of 10. It's unbelievable. All this stuff. And I'll admit, I didn't see it in theaters. Maybe I would have had a different opinion if I had seen it in theaters. I saw it when it came out on TV. But when I watched it, I liked it. I had a good time with it, but I can't say I felt like it was a 10 out of 10. Like I was just like all in on it. Like it was good. It was fun. Obviously, great action, great effects. I mean, all of that stuff was terrific. Love Charlize Theron and love Tom Hardy. I mean, they were terrific. So I did like it, but I was always frustrated that I couldn't seem to love it like everybody else loved it. But that said, don't get me wrong. I am fascinated by the world of Mad Max. And so if George Miller, the man himself, is coming back to make a story that he's excited about in this world, I'm absolutely going to be paying attention. I'm going to give that a shot. I probably, like, looking back now, I have to rewatch Fury Road. It's been a while. I think I probably would have given it like a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10 at the time. Maybe I would like it better now, especially because this is effectively a prequel to Fury Road, establishing Furiosa's backstory and really building out her character. And so I think it'll be very interesting to watch this and then rewatch Fury Road to see and kind of take them as two halves of the story and see how that changes my opinion of it. But George Miller, I mean, this is his world. This is his baby. He is so good at this, and this is a story that he's excited about. Apparently, this is a script that he actually wanted to make before Fury Road. He wanted to produce this script first, but Warner Brothers said, no, we're going to do Fury Road first, and then maybe we'll do Furiosa. And now, 9 years later, we're just now getting it. But it's a fascinating world, populated by really interesting characters. I would love to see what Chris Hemsworth is doing, because he really took over those trailers. I mean, he looks like he's really having a great time, and he's going to be a really fun character. I like Anna Taylor-Joy. I think she does a good job. I think she does a really good job, honestly. I would call myself an Anna Taylor-Joy fan, certainly.
Did you ever see The Menu?
Oh yeah, I love The Menu.
She was really good in that.
Yeah, which is one of my favorite thrillers of the past few years is The Menu. I really like that movie. So I do like Anna Taylor-Joy. I do think that she has the chops to carry a huge action movie like this. I'm very curious to see what she brings to it. Obviously, we all love Charlize Theron. I think there's definitely some people who were disappointed that they didn't bring Charlize back and then they went with Anna, but that doesn't take anything away from Anna either. I mean, you could have two great performances of the same character, I think. And even though box office, it got off to a lackluster start, the reviews have been glowing. So, I think that's a very good sign. So, I will definitely be watching this at some point. I would love to see it in theaters if I can. And yeah, I think it absolutely deserves to be in my top 5, in my top 3. It looks really interesting, and it's a great world. And George Miller, again, this is his wheelhouse, some pun intended. So yeah, very exciting, great trailer. I'm looking forward to it.
So for my number 2, I have one that was your number 9, which is Trapped.
Okay.
I haven't been the biggest M. Night Shyamalan fan since The Sixth Sense, to be completely honest. I feel like a lot of his work has kind of been a little bit more cheesy than I would have liked. But the reason I'm really interested in this movie is because of something particular that you said, which is it seems like a very original premise.
Hmm.
And you're actually entirely wrong because it's based on a true story.
Is it? Oh my God.
Yes.
I didn't know
Apparently
this.
there was a real life sting operation
Wow.
to like capture a serial killer who like took his daughter to a concert, and that served as the inspiration for this movie.
I had no idea about that. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, like insane story. I remember watching a whole like video essay on it, and I was like, holy shit, that sounds so fucking rad. I need to see this movie now.
Yeah, wow.
And so it just like bumped way up the list for me. Um, yeah, it like insane. Um, so I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fun, thrilling experience.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
M. Night, number two. Very impressive. My number two. Okay, we're getting into top two now, and I think we can start to see where maybe this is heading.
yeah.
My number two is going to be Joker Folie à Deux. I am really excited for Joker Folie à Deux. And a lot of this has to do with the trailer. The trailer came out, I don't know, about a month and a half ago. I adore that trailer. I think that trailer is probably my favorite of the year so far. I think it really gets me interested for what they're going to do with this. I really like the first Joker. I rewatched it recently, and I still really like it. I remember watching it in theaters when it came out in 2019 and really being impressed by it. It's always funny to me, the discourse around Joker when it was coming out in 2019, because everyone was so overheated. Oh, it's going to be this like incredibly provocative, controversial thing. It's going to be like this incels charter and all this stuff. And that's not what it was at all.
Yeah.
It's basically, I mean, everyone has said this. It's a Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but replace Travis Bickle with Joker, with a guy who's going to become Joker essentially, and
I
it's
do
really good
I
at that.
I do want to say, can you imagine how different the perception of this movie would have been if it came out closer to January 6th?
Oh, I mean, I don't even know. I mean,
Or
that
like
would have
after
been
January
crazy.
6th? That would have been
That would have been
a
wild.
completely different movie all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
yeah,
just
that
from the surrounding circumstance.
absolutely, yeah, that would have been wild. But yeah, I think that the first Joker, watching this guy just get completely, like, once again, in The King of Comedy is the most direct comparison, which I love Scorsese, so that's right up my street. Watching this guy just be completely going through this just series of unfortunate events, being completely beaten down by the system, and then finding this kind of liberation, when he finally assumes his final form and puts on the suit and becomes Joker. It's just, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix knocks it out of the park. The whole time where he invented that romance with his neighbor, that was a great twist in the theater in 2019. Even though I knew what the twist was here, it was great to kind of watch that storyline develop because it really does keep you guessing. It seems too good to be true, but at the same time, there's a part of it that seems plausible, and so it's really just fascinating to watch. Joaquin is great. I love just the whole Murray Franklin show, that set, and seeing Robert De Niro playing Murray Franklin. I thought that was
That
great.
scene, that
Awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, and then of course, and also the Joker riot at the end. I love that. Also, Joker being Bruce Wayne's half brother is kind of fun, or is he? We don't even know. It's is that actually true? Is it not? Yeah, just really interesting. So yeah, the first Joker was great, and now we're adding in the incandescent star of Lady Gaga. I mean, Todd Phillips said when he was talking about Joker Folie à Deux, there's one very simple reason why they're even making a Joker 2, and that's because Lady Gaga simply is magic.
Yeah.
You put her in a movie, you just set her loose, and she is unbelievable. And Lady
A Star is
Gaga,
Born.
A Star is Born,
She was
fantastic.
amazing.
And so making her Harley Quinn it's just a no-brainer. It's so good. And in the teaser that we saw, when we see her final form, I just can't wait to see her in that outfit, to see what she's going to do, to see what happens when Joker finally gets a partner and an equal, both in ambition and insanity, to just, wreck the world with. I think it's going to be so much fun. I love the musical aspects of it. People are very, very kind of confused about what that means when Todd Phillips says it's going to be a musical. He said it's not going to be a musical in the sense of like a Wicked, for example.
Yeah.
A traditional musical. He said that Joker is going to be a jukebox musical in the sense that Joker, and this is true in the first film too, when you go back and watch the first film, this Joker character, Arthur Fleck, he's a person, and this is what Todd Phillips said. He said he's a guy who has music in his heart. It's kind of what animates him. It's kind of one of the ways he makes sense of the world around him is through music. And so that's going to be kind of the significance of music in this movie. It's going to be a jukebox musical as the music helps to illustrate the insane world of these two, of Joker and Harley. And so I cannot wait to see how they play that out. I loved the Umbrellas of Cherbourg reference in the trailer. I thought that was really clever and kind of a tip of the cap. I know we're going to see a lot of that. Or tip of the caps to old school musicals, old school musical classics, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Joaquin and Lady Gaga acting against one another is going to be awesome. I'm just so excited for it. Fantastic trailer. Liked the first movie again when I rewatched it. Very excited for this. So, yeah, Joker 2, very strong stuff. Which brings us to number 1.
Well, before we get to number 1, I do want to make an honorable mention.
Oh, yes, please.
Which for me is Wicked. There's a movie I'm a little bit skeptical about, because there has been this recent trend of like taking musicals and then adapting them into movies, and the movies aren't nearly as good. Like kind of the newer Mean Girls movie isn't as good, and the Cats movie was
bad.
Fucking an abomination. Yeah. If you were like strapped to a chair in a basement, would it be more torturous to be forced to watch Cats on loop or Madame Web on loop?
Christ.
Which would drive you crazy faster, do you think?
Honestly, I think Cats. I still think Cats. And I'll tell you why. It's because only one of those movies that you mentioned, that you named, has James Corden in it. Yeah. And so I think the answer is going to be Cats. Cats is going to be the ultimate torture.
Yeah, the real answer is watching Backseat, or what was it? Karaoke Carpool.
Oh God. Yeah.
If you have to watch that on lip, that's
yeah. Whew.
No, but I'm a little worried about that trend. I don't want it to become like a full-on marketing strategy for a lot of these studios. But the story of Wicked is really good. And I think it's currently the longest running musical still on Broadway, after Phantom left.
Right.
It's an amazing musical. I think it will be cool to see a different adaptation of it. I can't remember from the trailer if it's also a musical or if it's just a movie.
I think it is a musical. Yeah, there's definitely going to be singing in it. So.
Yeah. Which, I don't know if that'll be better or worse. I think it would kind of be cool to see a more dramatized telling of the story, but the music is so good already that like, I it would also be a disservice not to include it. So it's.
Yeah,
My interest has definitely been piqued when it comes to this film. Is it something I'll go see in theaters? I doubt it, but I'm very interested to see how it does.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Wicked, because I've never seen the stage show, but I've been curious about it for a long time. I've always thought it's an interesting just idea, really exploring the Wicked Witch of the West, who probably isn't quite as wicked as she's made out to be in The Wizard of Oz. I always thought that was an interesting conceit for a story. And so, even though I've never seen the stage show, I've been curious about it for a long time. And the trailer did look good. The trailer did look like, we're going to be getting into some interesting world-building stuff for Oz. Mainly, I'm most excited about Jeff Goldblum as the wizard. I think that's going to be really fun. I'm very excited for that. So, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I think that there is stuff there that's definitely of interest to me. So, yeah, I think Wicked is a good choice. Any other honorable mentions?
I don't believe so. Not for me.
Okay. Well, then, I guess we'd better get to number one, and I think we can all see where this is going. Should we say it at the same time here? 3, 2, 1. Deadpool and Wolverine. There we go. We got there.
We're so coordinated.
Wow. Okay. Well, do you want to start or should I?
I can start because I've always been the first to
take us away.
To go. Okay. I'll start this by saying I absolutely adore the Loki series on Disney Plus. I thought both seasons were so good, and all I wanted from like the original first season was I want more just misadventures of like through the TVA and Loki going back in time and stuff. And then to see the TVA show up in the trailer for this film, I was like, fuck yes. Because the aesthetic is so good. I just got so excited. I'm like, okay, this is how they're gonna introduce this. Canon wise, does it make the most sense? I don't know, because it's, Deadpool should technically be in a different universe, not in a different timeline. But it's all kind of wishy-washy, and I think that takes away from the spirit of the film, which is, introducing Deadpool into the proper MCU, which will be really fun to see how he interacts with other characters. It's always a fun time in the comics when he's paired with more serious heroes. I'd love to see a Deadpool and Spidey film. Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine is something that no one thought would happen, including him, because he fully planned to retire the character, but he's just so good in the role. I think partly this was probably a favor done for Ryan Reynolds, just because they're such good friends in real life. But
sure.
I can already tell that partnership and bond that they share is going to bleed into the film, which is just going to make it that much better.
Sure.
The classic comic book
Levy,
suits.
You said you loved the Adam Project, so Sean Levy, Ryan Reynolds once again teaming up.
Yeah. The accurate comic book suits look amazing. There's just so much about this movie that I'm so excited for, and I can't wait.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so good.
Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine. This is the first time since 2012, first time in 12 years that we're only getting one Marvel Studios movie in a year, just one. In 2012, it was The Avengers. In 2024, it's Deadpool and Wolverine. We all know that Marvel is in the midst of a bit of a reset. Oh, you seem like you have a question.
I couldn't remember if the Hulk movie was also 2008.
Oh yeah, well that would have been before anyway. So, and also that came out the same year as Iron Man. So.
Yeah, no, I think they were both 2008. So you're right. The Avengers is the only movie to be in a standalone year. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that actually, I think Iron Man 2 was 2010. I think so. I think that also had that year to itself. So yeah, maybe. 2010 and 2012 are the only years where we've had any Marvel Studios movies, because obviously in 2020 we didn't get any.
Yeah.
But in the years where we have gotten Marvel movies, it's just been those 2 years until now. And it's no secret that Marvel's in the midst of a bit of a creative reset. We've talked about this a fair bit. People's mileage on phases 4 and 5 have definitely varied. And last year especially, there were some very high-profile flops. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, really not very good. Secret Invasion, awful. I hate that show so much. Anyone who's seen that show knows what I'm talking about. Oh, first
honestly,
of all, anyone who's seen that show, I'm sorry.
I think I need to do a hate watch of that, just because I'm
I
so curious. You get so angry so quickly when we talk
it's
about that show. I really want to know why.
if I mean, listen, if you're curious, I'm not going to tell you not to, but I really
I mean,
don't recommend hate
you've
watching
told
it
me several times not to watch it, so
because honestly, it's not it's just yeah, it's got a lot of problems.
yeah,
I mean, I've read the riot act on that before, so I'm not going to do it again here, but. That was bad, and then The Marvels was very underwhelming, and that was also a huge box office flop as well. And so 2023 did have a couple of good ones, Loki season 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but everything else was in pretty rough shape. And honestly, I mean, What If season 2 is barely even a blip, so I'm not even going to bring that up. So,
yeah. That was kind of a disappointing season, unfortunately.
yeah, I couldn't really get into it. So things are shaky, and it's no secret. Marvel's been very clear. We are resetting now. We're dialing back. We're going to rein it in. We're going to just get back to the problems that they've had in the past few years, and last year especially, was from taking that core creative team led by Kevin Feige and stretching it way too thin across movies and shows and everything. There's only one of him. There's only one core brain trust at Marvel. And if you try to spread them out over 16 different projects, no wonder stuff is going to fall through the cracks. And it did. And we started to see that really apparent last year. And so we're gonna dial it back. We're gonna focus in, and we're just gonna get back to just taking things, a lot more sequentially, one at a time, and getting them right, getting back to basics. And the spearhead of that effort is Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, again, there's been, by making this the only Marvel film of 2024, they're making it very clear we're all in on this. And it's not hard to see why. The Deadpool films, obviously, I mean, first of all, this is the first time we're formalizing X-Men, into the MCU, which is huge. People have been waiting for that forever.
I mean, technically, Professor X was in Multiverse of Madness, but the way they did that.
Yeah, there's a big asterisk on that.
Yeah.
But the first Deadpool films were great and very popular, and obviously bringing back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is huge. Getting Hugh Jackman back, and Kevin Feige said this too. I mean, when they were discussing plans for Deadpool 3, he said, honestly, Hugh, don't come back. You had the perfect ending for your character with Logan, the best superhero ending ever. Don't come back. Let's not mess with that. But they've designed the script in such a way where we were able to get Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. Not the same Wolverine as we knew before from the Fox movies, but it is a Wolverine that bears obviously many striking similarities to the old Wolverine.
Which also makes me think that this Wolverine isn't going to cross over into the MCU.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see, but I have a feeling that he's gonna stay behind and let go, and Deadpool will carry on into the MCU, because that way the MCU can kind of more organically introduce the X-Men.
Sure.
And have it based in the actual original canon and not some weird imported universe. But we'll see.
We'll definitely see. But yeah, this is a pairing that we've wanted to see forever, and it's finally happening. Like you said, we get the comic accurate suits, we get the ketchup and mustard finally, which is very, very fun. The TVA, that's huge. Obviously, everybody loves the Loki series. I love the Loki series, so being able to see the TVA, and Matthew McFadden as a TVA agent is perfect. I'm so excited for that. And we know that what's going to happen in this movie is going to be very key to whatever the plan is for Avengers 5. And yeah, I mean, we know we're getting cameos galore. We know that Jennifer Garner's coming back as Elektra. We're getting a lot of the old, X-Men minor characters coming back in, popping up here and there. We know we're jumping into portals of some kind. Maybe we'll get it's been speculated an Avengers Endgame type thing where we're jumping around and visiting, different points from Marvel history and kind of revisiting them. Maybe even the Battle of Earth and in Endgame itself. Emma Corrin, very excited for her. I think she is absolutely terrific, and she's going to be playing Cassandra Nova, who we think is going to be the villain of this movie. But I think when the movie comes out, we'll see. It's actually a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But I think Emma Corrin playing a villain is going to be very fun. I'm excited for that. Yeah, this movie, I mean, it's just a perfect confluence of events and stuff we've been waiting for, we've been looking forward to. And it's going to be big. It's going to be big. You know, this is Marvel's one crack at 2024 in the movie space. And so it's going to be huge. It looks huge. The trailers were fantastic. I love the trailers. The action's going to be great.
And it's rated R, too.
It's rated R. The humor's going to be fantastic.
Maintaining the R-rated nature of the original films, which is
really cool. The humor's going to be there. It's going to be bloody action. And I just can't wait to see the dynamic between, Ryan and Hugh. I think that's just going to be, that's the magic that we've been waiting for. They even teased it in Deadpool 2 in the end credits scene. Of course, they couldn't have imagined exactly how that would have worked out at the time, but we're getting it now, and I think that's wonderful. So, yeah, my most anticipated of this year. It's going to be huge. It looks great. All the ingredients are right. Very excited. And we know that this is going to be pivotal in what's going to go down in the next Avengers. So
honestly, if the entire movie was just Deadpool going back in time and fixing all the MCU plot holes, that would be so good.
Which I think is really possible. I really do think that's in the cards. So there you have it. That is our top 10 most anticipated list. Very exciting stuff. And also, we didn't really have to go back too far as well. I mean, I think the furthest back we went was Late Night with the Devil, and that was just March, so not that long ago.
Yeah.
It's 2024. Obviously, it's a weird year for movies. A lot of stuff got shifted and pushed around because of the strikes. But when we look at it like this, and this is why I love doing this every year, it really shows you that, we are in for some good stuff here. And it's going to be another really interesting year for movies. I think 2023 was kind of a banner year. I think 2023 was unusually strong. But 2024 has got some good stuff on offer, too. So very excited, definitely. And
I will say that 2025 is going to be...
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be wild.
Huge.
It's going to be popping.
Huge.
Oh, my God, yeah. So, but yeah, that is our most anticipated list for this year. Any closing thoughts on this?
The only thing I have to say is that I do believe we have a second list to talk about.
We do. So, as promised, that was our movie list. Now, let's get into our top 5 of TV